Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. This week's episode of The County Seat is coming to you from the Lieutenant Governor's office at the Utah State Capitol. Why? Because he's the guy that's in charge of elections across the state. And elections are coming. It's an important topic, and that is our discussion today. Now, to get started, you need to look at county elected officials. There are several of them, and most of them are not identifiable as we walk down the street. A lot of people say, I don't know who they are, I don't know what they do. So the Utah Association of Counties has recently produced a school program that airs in the different schools around Utah in their civics classes, and it will give you an outline of what elected officials do across the state. It's kind of cute, it's kind of fun, easy to understand, and quite informative. Take a look.
All of Utah's 29 counties develop innovative, successful programs that impact each of our lives through a wide range of service areas. Let's take a peek at one of our counties and see how it all comes together. Some people say surveying is both art and science because it takes an artist as well as an engineer to both understand the county land records and then determine boundaries and subdivisions. It requires correct boundary maps and the accurate placement of corner monuments to lay out a functional, thriving community. The assessor helps calculate property taxes by making accurate assessments of the fair market value of real and personal property, like your house. That's used by the county to determine the necessary rate of taxation to support your community's annual budget. Taxes are assessed on the valuation of your home, and that's how we pay for stuff, like schools, parks, and roads. The auditor is the fiscal officer for the county, making sure all numbers add up. They're responsible for maintenance and examination of the county's finances, so they have access to the official records and accounts. The final county budget must be certified by the auditor. Auditors tend to be pretty good at math. The treasurer receives deposits and invests all monies coming into the county. It's the job of the treasurer to ensure that county money doesn't just lie around and do nothing. County funds have to be invested so counties can pay the bills that add up from county services like road repair and maintenance. Whew. The county attorney prosecutes people who commit crimes or any public offense established by the state or the county. The attorney is unique in the fact that it's the only county official that is required by the state constitution to be filled by an elected official. The attorney helps watch over the county business by advocating on the side of county government. The recorder helps citizens find documents relating to the ownership of property located in the county, like the deed to someone's house. The recorder maintains records, books, indexes, and files relating to mortgages, powers of attorney, and court judgments, and has the authority to develop a safe, secure preservation process to keep those documents in either electronic or paper format. The clerk, sometimes called the county historian, is the keeper of county records. Clerks present the agenda and minutes for the county meetings, assuring openness and transparency in county government. They're also responsible for issuing marriage licenses and passports, overseeing elections, and maintaining financial records and vital statistics. Sheriff is the most venerable and traditional of county officials. First among the sheriff's duty is to enforce the law, maintain public safety, and make all lawful arrests. Other functions include the suppression of wildfires, organizing search and rescue squads, and managing the county jails. Some counties have commissioners, others have a council system with a county executive or mayor. County commissioners and council members are like the senior management of the county government. They enact rules and regulations governing county business and pass all ordinances. Most of all, they oversee the county's budget to make sure taxpayers get the most value for their money. Counties are a key component of government. It's truly local government, and it works well because it's the closest level of government to the people. We're the Utah Association of Counties, helping contribute to the story of your life.
Well, that certainly clears things up for a lot of people that haven't really paid much attention to county government. We would like to thank the Utah Association of Counties for allowing us to air their video. And you might check out their website. They have an entire media campaign about helping people understand how counties operate. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will talk elections with the Lieutenant Governor here in his office at the state capitol.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. belong in Kanab.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City, Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit cedarcityayl.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
The Bear Lake Valley is a beautiful, rural, historical, and recreational paradise. The changing of the season makes now a great time to come our way to see the warm colors of fall in contrast with the cool blues of Bear Lake. Visit us in the Bear Lake Valley. Come for the ride, stay for the adventure.
There are a couple great things about the Uinta Basin. One is it's still small, it's community.
That makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
When you know your neighbor knows you, and you can trust each other. People look out for one another.
I grew up in the Uinta Basin, and I think that it's a good place to raise a family.
So we packed up our 3 kids, and here we came to Uinta County, and what a great place it was.
It's not too big, it's not too small.
And it has a lot to offer that you just don't get in the big city anymore.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our conversation today is around elections. You've now seen what local elected offices are like and who the people are. Let's talk about the importance of those elections, and there's nobody better to have that conversation with than somebody that can see the importance of elections from a state perspective and historically from a county perspective. We're joined by Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, who used to be a Sanpete County Commissioner.
Correct,
some time ago.
Not long ago.
Isn't it amazing how quickly things change?
Yeah, very, very quickly. 2 years ago, I was doing the county thing.
Well, I'd like to really ask, why are county offices so important? I mean, a lot of people get so focused on the Senate and the U.S. House and the President and the Governor, and they forget about the local stuff.
Yeah, well, if there's any seat that's less well known than the Lieutenant Governor, it's probably County Commissioners. So I've been in both of those and seen it, and I'm not sure why they're not as well known, but they are critically important. I don't think people realize the decision making that happens there. Of course, you have taxing authority, which is the big one. People usually don't know who you are until you raise their taxes, and then they find out very quickly. But there are other critical infrastructure things that happen. Roads is a big one. Transportation, always at the top of lists as far as things that are important to citizens in the state. And counties, that's what they deal with. They deal with roads all over the county. So a lot of those really critical issues that people just know are important, but may not know who are making the decisions.
And as we saw in the county offices, some of those decisions overall are split. The commissioners come up with a budget, but it's one that the sheriff says he needs for his operation. And so there's this kind of interworking with these different offices.
There is. And, part of it also is the structure, I think. For the most part, we have commissions. We do have some mayor and county councils. There are some other structures. But commissioners are unlike anything else because they have both an executive function as well as a legislative function. So it's not like a city council that passes and then the mayor enforces. The county commissioners do both. So they actually have a higher level of authority and one less check and balance. So just even more reason that we should pay attention to these offices.
Of course, on the other hand, if they come up with some bad ordinance, they can't blame somebody else for it.
That is absolutely true. Yes, they're on the hook themselves.
So, some races, this year has been a really unusual election year, and there have been some close races. How close have some of the races been?
Well, they've been remarkably close, especially again at the county level, at the local level. That's where we tend to see the closer races. Of course, a smaller pool of voters, so the odds of a close race happening are there. But we had a county commission seat that was decided by less than 5 votes. We actually had 2 county seats that were decided by less than 5 votes. One in Millard County, one in Uinta County. Very, very tight elections. Now, those were primary elections, where we have seen historically low turnout. So people say their vote doesn't matter, and then you get 2 very important races decided by less than 5 votes. That's a big deal.
There's kind of a phenomenon in a state that's so predominantly one party, particularly in the rural part of the state, that there are cases where the primary election really ends up being the election. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. My chief elections officer here at the state tells a story about the first time he went to vote in a general election, and he's really excited. You know, he's 18, 19 years old, gets in the booth, goes to vote, and realizes that there's only one candidate in every office. And he thought, well, yeah, why am I even here? And that's because in a one-party dominated state, so often the real race is at the primary level. And that's the one people aren't paying as much attention to. You know, who goes to vote in June, right? We don't even think about it until November. And that's an issue. Now, I'm fortunate, I'm glad as a Republican that, you know, my party's doing very well. But there is some cause for concern, and one of the reasons we don't have higher voter turnout.
What would you like to see happen to get in participation in that early part of the election process?
Well, we're really trying everything possible to encourage people. We have an ad campaign going right now that we've been working on to get people excited about voting. Candidates need to play a role in that, about getting out, working hard, and encouraging people to come out and vote. One of the things we're really focusing on are young people. We found that if we can get young people out to vote that first time at age 18 or 19, they're more likely to become lifelong voters. Once you've been there and done it, you feel kind of ownership, you feel a responsibility to get out and do that. So we're really encouraging through our civics classes. Representative John Cox is looking at a bill this year that would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to actually register to vote. They still couldn't vote, but they could register to vote when they go to get their driver's license the first time or through their civics class. And that way then we send out a postcard when they turn 18 reminding them, hey, you can vote now. And we start to get them in that habit. We don't lose them in that period of adolescence and when they're not paying attention.
One of the most asked or common phrases is, my vote doesn't count.
Right.
Now, if you had been in some of these close counties in June, or possibly even November, is it possible that a single vote is going to make a difference?
Yeah, there's no question. And again, that's the difficult part as a candidate. My first race as a county commissioner, I won, but I won by like 30 votes, and it was really close. We had the absentee ballots that still had to be counted, so I didn't know the next morning if I had won or not. And I remember so many people coming up to me and saying, oh, I totally would have voted for you. I just forgot about it, or, you know, I didn't think it was a big deal. And I remember thinking, wow, this really mattered this time, and you just don't know. But more important than that, if you look at the foundation of our democratic republic, I mean, you know, people that have fought and died for this really unique opportunity, something that changed the history of the world, really the course of history that so many countries have tried to replicate, that we take for granted a little bit. And so for me, it's a sense of duty to one, become knowledgeable, and two, to get out and exercise that civic duty to vote. And I always say, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I like to complain as much as the next guy.
Well, that does lead to a good question. What kind of tools are you putting in through the Lieutenant Governor's office on the election website to help people through that whole process? Have you got stuff going on there?
We do, and I encourage everybody, if you haven't seen our commercials, please go to vote.utah.gov on the internet. It's everything that you need is right there. It's really remarkable. You put in your address and it pulls up your ballot for you, so you can see everything that's going to be on the ballot. So often we get in the ballot booth, and one of the things that discourages people, you get in the ballot booth and all of a sudden there are 3 constitutional amendments. You have no idea what they are. They're very long. You don't have a chance to read through them. Now I have a list of judges on the back. I don't know who these judges are. How am I going to know whether I support them and retaining them? And then maybe candidates I don't know about. So if you go to our website, you will pull up your personal ballot. You can see everything that's on there before you get in there. You can read about the pros and cons of these constitutional amendments. You can find out where your ballot location is, where you go to vote. You can actually register to vote on there. You can register for vote by mail if you want it sent directly to you. All of these things, all of these tools are right there for you. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Now, that's kind of interesting because a lot of those functions are county clerk functions.
They are.
But you're coordinating them through the state website?
We are. We work very closely with our county clerks on a daily basis. I meet with them several times a year. My staff is on the phone with them almost daily, just making sure that we are coordinating everything. As we kind of have dueling functions when it comes to elections. My office oversees elections for the entire state. state, but obviously the county clerks play a critical role in that. So we act in an advisory capacity and then help coordinate the technology between us to make it simpler for everyone.
I do want to get into mail-in balloting because that's a controversial issue.
I assumed you would.
And we are going to take a break right now in the county seat. We will return with Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? In Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Next. Have you experienced diarrhea in the last 2 weeks? Did you shower today? With soap? Did you wash well? Down there and back there? Ugh, go see Olga. Ew.
There aren't a lot of places in this world where you can feel truly free and wild, where the horizon invites you to set off on adventure. In Tooele County, you'll find just that. Explore the Benson Grist Mill and step back in time. Find yourself on a trek through our canyons. Tooele County. Experience endless horizons.
Welcome back to the county seat, a conversation with Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox. We are talking about elections and the importance of elections. There is one trend that has taken a lot of traction in Utah. In fact, some counties have completely switched to it, and that is mail-in voting. And there's talk about more and more of the state elections going to a complete mail-in. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been very supportive of vote-by-mail efforts. As I've studied the issue, looked across the state, we've run some pilot programs. We've got some counties, like you said, that are doing more and more of this. And we've seen some real positives. There are some drawbacks, and we're working with counties on those, but by and large, mostly positives. And the most positive to me has been voter turnout. What we've seen historically in other states as we've looked at this is there's an immediate bump. That trend doesn't necessarily continue when it comes to statewide elections, presidential elections, things like that. But where we see a significant increase that does maintain itself is at the local level. And so municipal elections, county elections, the smaller elections that aren't normally seen as important, I think they're more important, frankly, but we do see a much higher voter turnout there.
You know, going to the polls is kind of a connectivity, and there have been people, particularly in Duchesne County, who have actually complained that they don't have a poll to go to. And they're concerned about that.
Sure.
You know, is that are the goods outweighing the bads on that particular issue?
Well, and that's a good question. And so what we've advocated for is a hybrid wherever possible. So even those counties that are going directly vote by mail, what I prefer to see is that you still have at least a couple polling locations open the day of. For those that feel, you know, historically and traditionally, this is really important. We have a chance to kind of come out and vote. I would feel that was more important if the last election I didn't have poll workers falling asleep because no one showed up to vote. So there is a trade-off there. There's no question. But what we've seen, again, by and large, in fact, we've seen double the turnout in some of our counties that have gone exclusively vote by mail. And my county, for the first time, has gone all vote by mail. I actually mailed my ballot in yesterday morning, so I voted already. The biggest downside is I don't get the sticker, which I was, the I voted sticker. So we're working on that. We need an I voted by mail sticker.
So, but there are a couple of concerns, and they've been very well expressed. One of them is the lag factor, And
Right.
in other words, if there is a, quote, October surprise,
Yeah.
and you already cast your ballot in the first part of October, late September, whenever you got it, and you go, whoa, wait a minute, oh, now I've learned something about a candidate. That's an issue.
It is, and it's really changing. It's more of an issue for those that are running campaigns. The way you approach a campaign as an elected official, somebody running for office, has really changed now. Some of it for better and some of it for worse. It really just kind of moves the deadline for getting your information out. So you have to be more proactive in doing that. At the same time, it allows you to target a little more closely because you can see who has already cast their votes. So it can save money. We talk about we spend way too much money on elections anyway. Now I'm not sending out pieces of mail to people that have already voted because that's not going to do me any good anyway. So there's really a mindset change that has to evolve there. And while that's true, an October surprise, nobody likes surprises anyway, unless you're the opponent and you spring one on somebody. But I just say it's no different than a November surprise. Sometimes we elect people and then we voted and we find out something about them later. So hopefully this just means we move the candidates up. And I want to say one thing that's important, though, that we found here, Chad, and this really means a lot. We're finding that we're getting a more informed voter with vote by mail. And here's why. While you may miss the October surprise, what happens is when people get that ballot in the mail and it's there at their house and they've got 2-3 weeks to vote, they tend to actually look at it, sit down and do some research, where you wake up one morning, realize, oh, it's election day, I better go vote. You go in there, you're not sure what you're doing. People are spending much more time contacting candidates, researching the websites, looking at the opposition, trying to figure things out. And I think that's really a net positive for us.
You're watching a program on elections and the importance of local elections in Utah here on the county seat. We will be right back after this commercial break.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
What's the story of your life? What chapter are you on? Did you happen to get married recently? Perhaps you found your lost puppy at the animal shelter. Or you're taking an art class at the senior center. There's that flu shot that kept you well last season. And don't forget the museums and historical sites your family loves. And all the fun you have at the County Swim Center. County services, from search and rescue to maintaining roads, bring tremendous value to each of our lives. We're the Utah Association of Counties, helping you build the story of your life.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, ghost towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Planning your next conference or corporate event? The Davis Conference Center offers 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting and exhibit space, plus high-tech audio-visual services that will make your event a success. Whether you're planning a training, meeting, company retreat, wedding, or large convention, let the staff at the Davis Conference Center help you arrange your next event. Located east of I-15 in Layton, call 801-416-8888 or visit davisconferencecenter.com today.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our conversation today with Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox. We're talking about elections. His office is in charge of all that. We've been talking about mail-in balloting, and we've talked about some of the pros and cons. One of the biggest things that I hear across the entire state is the fear that when you're handling ballots by mail, that you're not going to know if that person really cast the ballot and that it's really susceptible to fraud. How do you address that?
Well, Like any form of balloting, unfortunately, there's no perfect system that excludes fraud right now. Fraud is always a possibility. We have laws against it. We prosecute people that are found to have fraudulently cast ballots. But what we're finding is we have not seen any increases statistically in fraudulent activity or behavior. One of the nice things about vote by mail is you can actually go see and check if your ballot has been submitted beforehand. So once you've mailed in a ballot, you know if it's there. If we get duplicate ballots from someone, we contact them and let them know. We also check signatures. So you have a signature on file. We check with the signature that comes in, make sure that they match. If they don't, we call and say, hey, did you really cast this vote? You come in, we check your ID, we make sure that that happens. So we have checks and balances in place to make sure that that does not happen. Now, is there a potential for fraudulent behavior? There is. Again, it happens in elections everywhere, but we have not seen any significant increase in fraudulent behavior when it comes to vote by mail.
What is your task like on Election Day in your office?
Well, I used to think that elections just happened, and I can assure you that now being the Lieutenant Governor, they do not just happen. It's incredible. Really, we have a great staff, and they work on elections year-round. Election Day is sometimes one of the quieter days because hopefully if we've done our job, everything is ready to go and roll smoothly. But what you'll see is the website is the big one, and it's really difficult to have a website. You look at Amazon, and they take millions of hits every day. Well, our website gets very, very little hits until 1 day a year or 2 days a year with the primary, and then we just get attacked, right? Just hundreds of thousands, millions of hits in 1 day. So making sure we have the website up and running and that we have good information, because people want to know as soon as those results come in. Again, we're coordinating with the counties. They count the ballots, they get it to us, we get it on the website, get the information out. So that's a big one. But we also, on a daily basis, we're overseeing candidates and candidate disclosures. Everyone's really interested now, suddenly, after what happened in the Attorney General's office, with making sure that candidate disclosures are really shining light on what's happening behind the scenes. Who's donating the money? What is it being spent on? Are we doing things within the bounds of the law? That's my office's job, to enforce that, making sure it's happening, that we have transparency across the board.
What are the improvements, very quickly? You got any plans for improving your website or the services of the Lieutenant Governor's office?
Yeah, that's something that we're constantly working on right now. We're working on, there were some complaints last time that it was a little hard to switch from county to county and house seat to house seat, municipalities. Sometimes those maps are kind of small and you've got neighborhoods that are carved up, and it gets difficult to follow different races. So what we're working on is to give people the ability to pick races to watch, so they have kind of their own personalized watch list and they can see those results as they roll in.
One more time, give us a quick plug about the website.
Vote.utah.gov. Please visit that website and register to vote and get out and vote.
Well, that's all the time we have for the county seat today. We do want to put in one reminder, though. For people who are concerned about energy, there is a coal and fossil fuel and coal summit or rally that is going on in Price, and it is on the 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m. The first 3,000 people that show up to this rally are going to get a free dinner, but it is to show support for the energy extraction industries in Utah and to make a challenge to the national war on coal. So we will look for you. I'll be there, and I hope that you will join us at that rally in Price on the 23rd of October. Thanks for watching the County Seat. We'll see you next week. If you like this video, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel, The County Seat. You can do that here, and we invite you to share with your friends. We also invite you to get all the latest up-to-date information by following us on our social media channels. And if all else fails, make sure that you watch The County Seat Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on ABC4 Utah.